In this lesson, we'll begin creating the nose for our character. Alright, so in the previous lesson we worked on finishing up the details for one of our character's eyes. Now, we're not going to actually create the other eye as of just yet. I want to go ahead and get some more of the details in the face hammered out before we begin thinking about that second eye. So, I tell you what, let's go ahead and jump into outline mode here, and let's take a look at our character's nose here. Now, we started off with the eye because there's a lot of easy to identify shapes there that we were able to work with. Now, when we get into the nose, there's going to be some shapes that are a little harder to spot. So, I tell you what, let's go ahead and first start off by hiding some of these layers here. I'm going to come in here and hide the neck and the chest layer. Let's hide this extra hair layer just so we can sort of clear up the area of the nose and we can really see what's going on there. So, whenever I'm working on a nose here, I think that probably one of the easiest things to start off with is just to simply draw a contour line around the nose. Something that maybe it doesn't necessarily have to receive color, but you can use the contour line around, or the path that surrounds the contour of the nose, to build your other shapes off of. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and grab our pen tool. And let's just zoom in on our character's nose here. And I want to start here on the tip of the nose, kind of around the right-hand side of the tip. And we're just going to start going around the contour of the nose here. We're going to zoom in nice and tight on that because there's a little bit of a divot right there where the nostril comes down and connects to the face. And we'll just come over here and bring a path right around that nostril. Now this is an area where the shape is a little harder to identify because we have these slopes on either side of the nose. So I'm going to kind of generalize where those are here. I'm going to kind of bring in an anchor point right about there. And let's bring that up and bring it, flare it out just a little bit where the brow starts to come into play here. And then we'll just go ahead and twirl that Bezier handle around and start to come down the opposite side here. So I'm going to try and place an anchor point in about the same spot here. I think it'll probably be easiest. Let's go ahead and actually grab our direct selection tool. Mistakenly didn't switch to that before I started drawing here, so we'll go ahead and grab the pen tool and re-pull out those Bezier handles there. Let's come over here and follow this back down and around this nostril. We'll just take a look here. I need to shorten that up some. Now her nose isn't going to look exactly straight at this point. She actually has her head at a little bit of an angle, so the nose is going to look just a little bit strange until we get it finished up. But by the time we're done with it, it'll look perfectly normal. So we'll just come in here and finish this nose off here by drawing in the tip. And I'll grab my convert anchor point tool and we'll just straighten that out just a little bit here. Alright, great. So the nose is looking pretty good so far. What we've got here is basically a path that goes around the entire contour of the nose. And I'm just going to kind of tweak this up just a little bit here, just so I'm a little bit more comfortable with that path. So I'm going to come in here, maybe we pull this anchor point out just a little bit. And we can even pull these over a little bit further as that brow really flares out as it gets in the area of the eyes. There we go, something like that. That looks pretty good for right now. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and switch over to our selection tool here, deselect that, jump out of outline mode, and you can see here that we've basically applied a white coloration to the nose here. I'm actually going to come in and tweak this nostril up just a little bit. It looks like we flared that out just a little too far. Just kind of get that right where I need it to be. Alright, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is we'll just switch over to our eyedropper tool by hitting the keyboard shortcut I, and we'll sample the same color as the face for right now. So basically we've got this invisible nose that we've just drawn here. Now at this point, let's go back to our pen tool here, and I'm going to go ahead and let's just go ahead and click off to the side here by holding Control and clicking, and we're going to come in and select any color right now. Let's just go ahead and select a black color. And we'll jump into outline mode because what I'd like to do is we need to create sort of this nice grounding shadow. This almost like a pencil thin, just a very thin stroke that goes around the bottom part of this nose shape here. This is what's going to ground this nose onto the face. So I'm going to come in here and let's just start drawing right about here. It might help to have our smart guides on. So let me come in and start drawing right about there. And we're just going to go about creating this really thin stroke. And there's going to be some areas where the stroke's going to be a little bit thicker, like up here in the corners of these nostrils. But we're coming in through here, and let me just actually grab that direct selection tool again. And we'll go ahead and pull that anchor point right back out, or that Bezier handle. And let's come in and drop an anchor point right about there. And we'll spin that around. So you can see basically what we're doing is we're drawing this little stroke around this shape. This is actually grounding it against the face. Let's come in and just kind of massage this into place here, making sure that the thick and thin aspect of this particular little stroke we're creating looks like it matches up with the lines or the path that we've already drawn here. Go ahead and spin that one around. Actually, let's go ahead and space bar, readjust that one here. We'll come bring that around. And we're going to shoot for terminating this up around this other nostril. Now let's see, where did we start out at? We started out right there. Let's go ahead and end it about the same spot on the other side. And then we'll come over here and just connect these two. And we may need to come in and clean this up just a little bit. Just like so. And I tell you what, let's jump out of outline mode here. Let's send this backwards one step. So you can kind of see what we've done here is we've created this nice little thin stroke that's going to border right along the bottom edge of our character's nose, really kind of grounding it into place on the face there. So with that done, let's go ahead and jump back into outline mode. We're going to select both these two shapes. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and do a minus front here on the Pathfinder shape mode. But before we do that, let's go ahead and copy our nose shape. We'll Control C to copy that, do a minus front to subtract it from this shape right here. And I'm going to hit a Control F to paste that right back in front. So now we've basically trimmed that stroke to the very bottom of this nose shape. Now I tell you what, at this point, in order to best see the shadows under the nose, let's go ahead and hit Control 3, and we'll go ahead and hide both of these two shapes here by hitting Control 3 with each one of them selected. Now we've created that one shadow, that baseline stroke around the bottom of the nose. Now I see a couple other potential possibilities on the nose itself for shadows. I see one maybe that comes in here, maybe further defining the nostrils underneath. And then I see a real faint shadow right along in this area. So if you see those two shapes here, those are the next two shadows we're going to go after here. So let's go ahead and hit Control Alt 3, and we'll bring those two shapes back. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and deselect those, because I'm going to select that real thin stroke that we created, and let's hit Control 2. And that's going to lock that into place, so we can't select it anymore. All right, great. So with that done, let's go ahead and go for this sort of subtle shadow that kind of borders out around here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that pencil tool again here, and we're going to just kind of draw this one in here. I'm going to come in here and see if we can't do this with one nice long stroke. Sort of like that. Now that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't feel like there's much that needs to be smoothed out on this particular shape, because really all that I'm after is the part that's overlapping right here. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump out of outline mode, and let's go ahead and take this selected shape we have. Let's go ahead and hold Shift and select the nose shape. And actually, before we do, we want to copy the nose shape again. So we'll Control C, and may need to jump into outline mode to get a hold of this second shape, because what we're going to do now is we're going to intersect this. This is the first time we've really done this in the illustration to actually produce a desired result. So intersect, remember, is the third shape mode over here. So intersecting that is going to leave us with just the area where they overlap. So this shadow right here. So now we can come in here and we can hit Control F again to paste that shape back in front. We can go ahead and send that backwards 1 or 2 steps. And let's go ahead and grab this shape right here, because at this point we need to add a color to that so that we can see it. I tell you what, let's do. Let's go ahead and come over here and let's grab our gradient panel here, and I'm going to just tear that off and pull it down below so we can see that at all times. And I'm going to go ahead and apply a radial gradient to that. And I tell you what, let's come over here and grab one of our flesh colors. I believe this is the one we used for our base color. I'm going to drop that right on top of our white swatch here. And I tell you what, let's come in and grab let's try this color right here. We'll drop it in there on that gradient slider bar, and we'll just tear that black swatch off. Alright, great. And at this point, I'm going to come over here and adjust the opacity of this particular color stop. I'm going to turn that all the way down, and let's grab our gradient tool. Now, we want to look at the gradient annotator here, so I'm going to bring that up with the gradient tool with the keyboard shortcut G. I'm going to go ahead and spread this out some. Let's bring that gradient up here so we can make a nice subtle gradient here. I'm going to actually pinch that down by grabbing the black dot on the dashed line around the gradient annotator. And we're going to just kind of tweak that around until we get a shadow that we're happy with here. And I'm not quite sure that's the right color there, so we'll just come over, double click on our color stop, and let's go for that HSB color preview here. And I'm going to tweak that over, make it a little cooler, a little less saturated. Just kind of see how that looks here. We need to adjust that gradient yet a little bit more. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. I may play with that just a little bit more in between lessons, but we've got the first couple of levels of shadow created underneath our nose here. Now we've still got quite a bit more left to do on the nose, so I'll tell you what, in the next lesson we'll pick up where we're leaving off here, and we'll continue building our character's nose.